Hey, this is Brian with King Grizzly. In this video, I'm going to make the case why Elementor is the absolute best visual builder for WordPress, why I think beginners should be using it and expert web developers as well. So we're going to do a crash course of just the best features that we think set Elementor apart over other solutions that are available. Okay, so I set up a clean installation of WordPress and I installed Elementor. So if we go to plugins, you'll see I put in Elementor and I put in Elementor Pro. In my opinion, just get Elementor Pro. The license is good for like 1,000 sites and it has so many features. So I'm going to just demo what Elementor can do here in full. The first thing that makes Elementor great is if we go to my appearance and themes, you don't need a fancy theme to subscribe to if you use Elementor. Just get the Hello theme. It's supported by the Elementor team. It's free. It's really light, and it should enable Elementor to run. And then we can really rely on the visual builder and the templating that Elementor can do, and you can just forget about all the hassles of theming in the past where you were struggling to make archive templates, etc. Don't need that. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to pages. I'm going to make a new one. And we'll just call this test. So I'm going to show you, I'll go ahead and publish that. We're going to click edit with Elementor. Now I've got the page established. The first best thing about Elementor is the visual builder. Don't worry about the top here. You'll notice like the top of this looks bad. It's like, what's up with this, right? We'll get to them. We'll get to how to replace the header and the footer using visual templates. But the first thing is Elementor is truly a visual builder. So we've got all these widgets here on the left that we can choose from, and we can add sections on the right. So if I want to start building, I can choose, what do I want to add? Maybe I just want a one column section, and I can click on it and I can start setting up things like padding, like maybe I want some space, right? So it's putting padding around there. That's just the space around the content. I can click on these little 9 boxes and I can start adding content, right? So I want a heading, maybe I want some text, a button, like a call to action type button. Say I'm building a hero panel or something. And if I need to style those, I can click directly on them, go to style. I want to style my font, so I'd like to make it much bigger. So I can fiddle with those settings, maybe choose a different font family. They can pull from my system, or there's also the Google fonts, right? So I can just choose right there. That's a kind of terrible looking font. We use Montserrat. So anyway, really easy to work on. If I want to adjust things like color, I can do that. If I can click on my button, it's easy to style. I can change the color of the button. I can change the text color. Very easy. I can click on this container, go to style, and I can change things like the background image. If I wanted to add an image in there, I could, or I could set a color. There's this nice sort of color picker. So that's one good reason, an easy visual builder to use, and then this really great widget library. So we have buttons, videos. If let's say you wanted to add a video, if I drop the video in there, we've got some nice options here. We can choose the source. So if it's a YouTube video, you just paste the link. Same with Vimeo. If you want to self-host, you can click that, and then you can upload the media file to your library. So the widgets make it really easy. I'm going to delete this one, to add content to the page without having to be a coding genius. And so there's lots of widgets to choose from. We won't get into all those, but they're great. So the next reason that Elementor is great is copy and paste. Believe it or not, just this copy and paste. You can copy and paste content, and you can copy and paste style. So let's say I was just loving this hero and I wanted to copy it. I could right click the section and I can actually copy it. So copy. And then I can paste it to a new page, or I could paste it here just as a demo. I'll right click, paste, pow, just like that. I duplicated the content. Let's say I want another column. I could right click on this and I could duplicate my column, or I could add a new one. So if I hit duplicate, look, I've already got a matching column here. Really slick. So you can even copy and paste styles. All right, so I've got this heading here. Let's just change the style. I'll change the font. So here's the second column. Obviously, I'm going to duplicate this. It doesn't have the same styling as this. If I right-click this widget, I can copy, and then I can go to some other widget heading and paste the style, just like that. So let's get into another great thing about Elementor. What about tablet and mobile? What about mobile styling? If you click down here, this little icon, no problem. Go to tablet, and I can adjust. So I could say, wow, these are all running into each other. I'll click on this first column, and I can make adjustments. So I'd like this column to be 100% wide. Look at that. And then maybe I want this one to be 50% wide. And this one. So it's really fast doing my mobile styling. I could click on this heading and say that is just way too big. Let's make it smaller. Make it like 20 pixels. Oh, that looks better. I can copy that. I could paste the style. And that's already looking better, right? If I go to mobile, then on mobile I can make adjustments as well. Like this section here, that's just too much padding, right? I click on the section. I could say I want to do a percentage padding on mobile. Let's do 7%. And then this heading, I'm going to paste that style I just had. And that's looking pretty good, right? I could click on this column. I could add some margin on the bottom, and it's just going to apply to mobile. So as you can see, you can start to get your pages together very quickly. A few more features about the visual builder before we move on that are really slick. So let's say I've got an image here. Let's drag one in. Some cool options here with images, or not just images, but other content. I could click on advanced, and I could do motion effects, and I can do positioning. So what does that mean? Motion effects would be, say, while I scroll, what do I want to happen to this? So I could say, hey, on vertical scroll, I'd like this image to have sort of a drift to it. You see that? You can do that to all kinds of things. What I tend to do is I'll go to positioning, and I'll change it to absolute. Let's say you've got like a geometric shape or something like that. And then what I can do is I can fiddle around with how that's placed. I could even change the size. So I can go to custom size, pixels. And then what I could do is add those animation effects. So the absolute positioning and the animation effects are really awesome. I'll give you an example. So on King Grizzly, you can see we've created these sort of little confetti sprinkles that are SVG, so they're vector graphics, and they're absolutely positioned. And you can see we've got some drift and things going on here. So pretty slick. Okay, going back. Another nice feature is, I'm going to get rid of that image, I don't need it now. You can actually put CSS on individual widgets. So if you're a real whiz with coding, you can click on something, go to advanced, custom CSS, and then if you type the word selector, that just means basically this widget that I clicked on, and then I can put code in there. So you could override or do whatever you want. So I could do something like margin bottom 50 pixels, and it did it. Or, whoops, color. This is just by way of example, red. So what you wouldn't do that because you could do that with the styler, but you could do things like pseudo classes or any kind of customization you want to make. You can do it right on the widget if you're so inclined. One last feature about Visual Builder, right click, turn on Navigator. There's this layer system. If I drag it over here, it sticks. This is like sort of like Adobe Photoshop. So you can see I can click this section. I can even name it. So if I'm working on a team, it's really nice because I could name this section, like features or whatever. So I could go through, and I always do this for my clients, pricing. So you can name everything if you want. And what's crazy is you can actually, inside of Navigator, you can right click and copy elements in here and then paste them right in Navigator, or drag and move the order around. It's really awesome. So sometimes Navigator is a good way to get at selecting an item. If you got a really complicated page, you can sometimes just use Navigator to go directly to what you want. There's also some hotkeys that are related to this. Okay, so you got the idea. Visual Builder is really slick. So what is the next feature we should look at? Okay, it is definitely global style. This is newer. but it's already really great. So this little hamburger up here, if I click it and I go to site settings, it's centralized styling for the whole site. So from here, I could update an entire site. Doesn't matter if it's 5 pages, 50 pages, or 500 pages. If I set my global colors and fonts and typography here, button styles, those will apply across the entire site. So you can imagine if you have a large site, that's pretty nice, get time saver, right? So instead of going and styling every button individually in the visual builder, which I could do, I could just go to buttons and say, hey, by default, I want all of my buttons to be, some color. Right now, I manually styled the buttons on my screen, so I would need to go kind of delete out those styles. But I'll go ahead and show you. Maybe I want white for the font, and then like a turquoise background color, and maybe I want to round the corner a little bit on my buttons and add a certain amount of spacing. You can see that I didn't set the spacing on the ones on the screen. So as I change it, you can see it live. So had I not, set any custom styles, they would be updating live right as we go. So there's the buttons. I could change the font here if I want. And you'll notice there's these globe icons. That's a way you can incorporate a different global style. So if I go back to my site settings and I start to set up, say like my body typography, I could choose a color. I could choose a font. Right now it's set to Muley. I could change, let's just say we want it to be Arial. You can see it's changing. I could choose sizing on that too if I wanted to, right? So 20. You can see that's changing. And what's really nifty, I can set it for tablet and mobile too. So I could say, hey, look, on desktop, I want this to be 18 pixels, but on tablet, that's a little big. I'm going to do 17. And you can set it for mobile too. Maybe mobile, we want to go to 16 or whatever. So then I'm going to go back to desktop. I would continue to go through my link colors. Maybe I don't want it to be orange. I can choose a manual color here. Or I could choose one of my global colors. There's magenta. The neat thing is, as you're setting colors, so if I set some color here that I thought was great, like that, if I click this plus button, I can add it as a global color. I'll just call it teal, and I can create it. Now, if I go to my global colors, you can see teal is here. So I can set all these colors. I can delete ones I don't want, like here's one I saved, go away, right? So I can delete those. So you can come up with sort of like a branding style guide built right in here. You don't have to code it into some theme, CSS. You get these all set up how you want, and then you just go and apply them. And so same can be said for the typography. Hey, for my H1, I want to use the text color, but maybe I want it to be really big. So I could set that to some larger font size, like so. And I could adjust things like line height. Like, it's too big of a line height. So I'm not going to take the time to do that, but as you can see, I can set all of these. I can go back. There's more things we can control, like my images. Maybe I want those to have a border radius. Maybe I want them to have a border. The lightbox, any sort of pop-ups can be styled here. Layout, we can adjust the layout settings for what we want our content width to be by default. We can set our breakpoints. So really powerful feature, global styles in Elementor. Then you just hit update. Now, if I go back to the editor, if I drag a new button out here, you'll see, since I don't have any styles on it, it takes on all the default styles I wanted. Okay, what's another reason Elementor is the best visual editor? It is definitely the theme builder. So we're going to set up a main menu, main navigation bar, and a footer bar that will apply across our whole site. And we're going to do that visually. So I'll just save what we've done here. And then we're going to go back to the dashboard. And what we want to do is get into the theme builder. So if we go to templates, Elementor has something called templates, but they also have something called theme builder. So we're going to theme builder. This is going to help us build up our theme visually versus in the past where you had to just code things. So I'm going to try this new theme builder. What do I want to build? Well, we need a menu. So I'm going to look, be a header, and I'm going to add a new one. What's kind of nice, another feature here, is that Elementor comes with a bunch of pre-built headers. So I'll just I'll choose one. You can also buy them on marketplaces if you wanted to. So I'm gonna click on, I can actually view this one and take a look at it. Maybe, I don't know if I like that one. What else do we have available here? I kind of browse around. And maybe I decide I like one. I'll hit insert. So it'll go ahead. This is a pre-built. You can see it's got some drop shadow. It's got the logo. Now, if I had wanted to, I could have just built my own, starting from here, right? So I could drag in a section. I could go to my widgets, and you'll see there's some dynamic widgets. Like I could drag in the site logo. There's other things I could get, like a navigation menu, and I can just pull it right in there. So if I click on this, this is actually pulling in a WordPress menu from the appearance menus menu inside of WordPress. This is just getting my main navigation just like that. So this is all visual. I can click on this nav menu and style it. If I go to tablet, we can take a look at it, mobile, and you'll see on mobile what happens is this donate now button. I don't have room for it. So it's by default, if I go to the advanced options for that, it's been hidden on mobile. So I can hide elements on desktop, tablet, mobile if needed. And so you can see that this nav widget goes to a hamburger by default. And I can click on that widget and I can go through and I can style everything about it. So I want to publish this, but it's going to say, well, where do you want to display your template? I can choose a condition. So the condition I'm going to say is the entire site. But if I wanted to, I could get much more targeted. I could say only display this on the home page, or we could even add an exclude condition and say never show this on some particular site or archive. So you could build multiple main menus and then have them run in different places. So I'm going to save and close this. So now if we go back to our page, it should have this main menu. So when the page loads up, look, now we've got our menu up there. And you can see my page title for this page is showing here by default. No problem. If I click that little gear down here, I'm going to hide it. I'm going to say, I don't want to do that. Now I could leave it there, but I don't want to. So now I've got this nice menu that's going to show on every page. And if I want to edit it, now I can just click on edit header here and go right in there and start editing it. So the next thing I want is a footer. So if I go to templates and theme builder, I can add a footer. And it's the exact same thing. So I'm just going to name this site footer. And there's some pre-built options I could choose from here, or I could just make my own footer manually. I'll just choose one for fun, insert. Publish, it's going to ask me where. Entire site, save and close. Now my site should have a footer. So if I refresh, oops, I didn't save that page. Refresh. Now I've got a footer. There's a space here because this is where you can add more sections. But if I click this little hide arrow, this will show you what the live page will actually look like. Okay, so as you can see, you can start building some really powerful things. Okay, what if we wanted to pull in a list of posts? So I could add a new section, and I could drag in the post widget right here. I've written a couple dummy posts, and as you can see, by default, they just show up. This used to be really hard to do in WordPress. And I can click on this, and I could style it. So I could say, hey, I just want 2 columns, and go through and turn on things or off things like metadata. Maybe I don't want the date on there. I could go and style, right, the gap between the columns and the rows. I could click on content. I could actually use my global styles here. So I could click on this global icon and say, hey, use the secondary styling here. And I could fiddle with the size if I wanted to of things like the copy. All of it's customizable visually. But what if I click on a post? I'll update this. What if I click on a post? How do I style the actual post itself? Well, that can be done in Theme Builder. So if I go to Theme Builder, I want to do a single post template. So I'll just click here. I'll type in a name for it. Maybe if this was like a finance site or a real estate site or something, could be like housing. I click on that. And you can see, once again, there's a lot of pre-built options here that can be pulled in, or I could go custom. I'll just drop in one of these pre-built. Insert that. Okay, so you can see by default, it's pulling my bio, title, date, some social if I want for where people could share this, the excerpt, the feature. This is the featured image. If I click on it, you can see it's dynamically pulling the featured image from my post. And then this is the post content. And then there's related posts. I only have 2 test posts, but if I click on this widget, you can see it's set to 3 columns. I could change that. 1 would be gigantic. So right here, I'm building a powerful styled single post template without writing any code, and all of it's adjustable, right? So if I click on this, you can see this is dynamically going and getting the post title. It's just a widget. So if I click over here, you can see there's a post title widget. So if I had been building this from scratch, say I want my excerpt here, I could just drop it there. Maybe I want my share buttons up here. I could just get rid of this section here. I could click on these share buttons and I could style them. So I could, maybe that's, it's way too much space between them, right? I want my button size smaller. And so as I work on this and publish it, it could ask me again, where do you want to show this? And I can choose. I could say, I want it on all posts, all singular, or I could say, I want it on certain posts, but you could say like only in a certain category. If I had a custom post type, like real estate listings, that would show up in here as an option. So I could just style my real estate listings with this. So I'm going to save and close that. That's another great feature in WordPress. So what about custom post types, right? If I did want to set up, say, a real estate listing site, how would I get the information from those to pull in? So I will real quickly show you how that could be done. Okay, so getting custom information into a post in the past in WordPress has required custom code or extensive plugins. It can be confusing and very technical, but Elementor helps to make that a lot easier. So you still need a plugin. So there's a few to choose from at least. I'm going to go with the real simple one for this demo called Pods. Pods is free. I'm going to install this. You may want to go with something a little fancier in the way of like advanced custom fields, but for this, Pods is a good demo. Okay, now we want to add our custom post type now that the plugin is installed. This is different from a regular post type because we may want to add a series of fields or information that's not by default going to make sense with the regular post type. And we want to be able to pull that into our design in our Elementor template. So I'm going to create a new one. And there's 3 things we can make: a custom post type, a custom taxonomy, which would be categories and tags. So like if I make a listing post type, I may want to come up with a set of tags that only apply to listings. And the third option we'll ignore for now. So I'm going to make a listing. So you type the singular name, and then you type the plural name. Okay, I'll go to the next step. And pow, now we've got these listings over here. Very cool. I could already start adding them. But we will want to add some custom fields. So I'm going to add a field. What kind of information do I want to collect? I'll just make some stuff up like suburb. So by default, once I type in this custom field name, it gets sort of a downcased version of it here. I could type in a description, like just as a hint to the person who's editing, enter the suburb name. Okay, I'm going to save that field. Maybe we want some sort of unique image. We could have a featured image by default, but I could go down here and say, hey, I'd like to have a certain kind of image that's not the featured image. I don't know what that would be. Let's say like a front yard image. So there'll be a custom field where someone could enter that. I'll save that. We could add more. For now, I might leave it. And we may want to go through and control some options here about where in the menu this custom post type shows up, an icon for it, etc. I may want to enable an archive page. So like if we want to use the Elementor archive template, I could turn that on. There's some different options. By default, I'd like it to support a featured image. I'd also like it to support an excerpt. So you can see there's different things you can turn on. I'd like to support revisions. I'm going to save this and call it good. And then we'll go over to our listing, and we'll actually add one, and then we'll make an Elementor template that shows it. So we'll add a new listing. So it'll be test listing 1. Let me just fill this out. I'll go grab a featured image from the media library, insert that there. We need that front yard image, right? So what's in my media library? A picture of a breakfast sandwich. We'll go with that. The suburb name, let's put in suburb name. Let me fill out the rest of this. Okay, that's all set. I'll publish it. And then let's go see how we would make a template for it. So we go back over to Theme Builder and we will build a single post template. Add new, just call this listing. Create that. And once again, I can choose from some preset templates if I want, or I could just make my own. Okay, so how do we start pulling in our information? I'm going to add a new section. Maybe I would like to have the featured image in here. So we'll drop the featured image in. And what you'll notice is by default, it's not showing anything. So what we need to do is just go down to these settings in the bottom left. And we can tell it, hey, look, I want you to preview a listing. This is just saying, as I'm building this template, please pull a listing for me to use as the preview. So I can go find the name of that listing, apply it, and then I'm going to go ahead and publish this. I could save it as a draft. For display conditions, I'm just going to say, hey, I want you to show this on all listings. So this template will only apply to listings. And then there we go. So now it's grabbing the featured image. And perhaps I'll add a new column. And I want to put in the post title, right? So I'll drop that in. And it knows it's the test listing. And maybe then I want the excerpt. So let's see, where's that field? Post excerpt, drop that in. Oh, I could click on the section and say, could you please align these in the middle vertically? So slick. Maybe I want to add a little padding. All right, so that's already looking cool. What else did we make for the custom post type? Oh, we had a couple unique fields. So what suburb is this in? How do I go get that? Well, one way I could get it is I'll just drop another text editor in here. But instead of going with this text here, there's this dynamic tags. If I click on that little stack of circles, I can go get custom fields. So I want to get the pods field. And once I select pods, I click on it again. And then I click on a key, and you can go and get custom fields. So say, get the suburb name for me. So there it is. And then I could style that, right? So maybe I want this suburb name to be italicized or called out in some interesting way. So as you can see, I'm starting to build up this custom listing. And maybe I want a picture of the front yard in there. So I'm going to grab an image. And I want it to be small. So I'm going to change the size like so. And maybe I'll have it left aligned. Okay, so this would be like our front yard picture, but we need to go get it. So I go to dynamic tags, pods image field, which image field? The front yard image. I could even set a fallback picture here in Elementor where if there wasn't one, what would it show? So look, you can see it's already showing that little funny cheeseburger or breakfast sandwich type of thing. What do I want it to link to? Oh, could you link to the media file, please, using a lightbox? Yes. So now if someone clicks on it, boom, it's coming up in a lightbox. So as you can see, we can build a really nice custom post type listing update using Elementor. No custom code required. And so how would I fetch this on a page? Let me show you. So I'm back over to pages. I cleared out the one I had already built. So I add a new one here. This would be like my listings page. Publish that, and then I'll flip over to the Elementor editor. Edit with Elementor. And what I can do is I could say, hey, give me some posts, but instead of getting the normal text, the normal WordPress post, change the query. So we'll just say, let's go get the listings. Bing, look, my one listing is here and it shows. So I'm going to update that. Same as before, I could go to style and adjust some of these things. And I'm going to go ahead and preview this. So if I click on that listing, look, it goes right through to my custom post type template. Didn't have to write any code. Elementor rocks. Okay, so a couple more things, and then we'll wrap this up. So Elementor is very extensible with other tools like plugins. So there's a bunch of nice plugins that extend Elementor's capabilities. So for example, some of you may be thinking, well, if this is all well and good with these custom listings, but how do I get, what if I wanted the suburb name to show in this post widget, right? Like if I go to this post widget, there's no way here, like you can pull in metadata, right? But as you'll notice, it's not offering up the custom post type information. So there's no way for me to show the suburb name here. Well, thankfully, there are some nice plugins. Like one is Elementor Extras. If I install Elementor Extras, I'm actually able to build a template for one of these little post listings where I could pull in all of that custom info. So I could list the suburb. I could design this however I want and set it to be repeatable. And there's other plugins that can do that as well. But what's nice about that then is you can build visually custom listings that are totally unique and click through to the post type template that you set up. A few more things I want to hit. If you're still with me, I think you're probably seeing the promise here. If you're not, it's probably because you got bored. But templates and global widgets that are a little different than theme builders. So let's say I'm adding a new section. Now, if I click the pink button, I get these sort of column pre-built sections. So I could click that, and yeah, I have 3 columns. But if I click the folder, I can actually load in templates. So I can load in pre-built pages that come from the Elementor library. I can load in these blocks, which are a little more generic, and you can actually sort them. So if I were interested in an FAQ block, I could click on it. But there's actually quite a bit to choose from here. I find that these tend to be a little bit inconsistently styled, but I'll drop one in. Oops, I misclicked. So let me drop one in here. Doesn't really matter what, I suppose. But you can see there's a lot to choose from, and some are they only come with Pro. I'll insert one. Okay. So we have these templates, but you'll see it says My Templates. You can also save your own, right? So this one was pre-built, and if I click on it, it's got a testimonial carousel widget already saved, ready to go. So what you could do as you're building your site, yes, you can use these pre-built ones, but let's say we modify this somehow, like you want a heading, maybe center it, maybe you want some other elements here. Now, you can right-click the section, and you can save it as your own template. So if I click on that, I could call this whatever I wanted, like testimonial carousel. Looks like I already used that name before. I can save that. And now this will be available from other pages. So if I want to reuse this, I can. Interestingly enough, there's a template widget. So if I add a new section like this, I can go to my widget library, start searching for a template. Look at that. I can drag that in and say, look, I want to load a template in there, and it will let me search my template. So I just built that testimonial one. So I'm going to insert that. There it goes. Now, if I need to, the container section that it's inside of, I could make it full width. I could zero out the padding. So I could make a full width template design if needed. What's nice about this is if I'm consistent about using these template blocks, say this thing is on 10 different pages, then all I need to do is go edit the original template. I can click here to edit it, or I can go into my template library through the menu and edit. What's cool is it will then update the whole site, right? So that's another really powerful way Elementor helps speed up builds. Another thing we could do is on the very individual level. Let's say I have, like a button. So I could drop a button on here, style it how I want. So I could make changes to this. Maybe there's something about it that's unique. I use a bigger size. Maybe there's like a big border radius, where it's a total rounded button. And I want my padding on the sides to be large and on the top not as large. So there's something unique about this button, right? Okay. I can right click on that individual widget and I can save it as a global element. So I could call this sort of like, action button. So now I have this global widget. I can put global widgets on pages. So as you can see, I've got my regular element library here, but if I go to global, Now I have a global widget that I can drag onto my page, and I can edit it or I can unlink it. So maybe I'm on a different page and I want it to be yellow. I could unlink it and edit the style, but maybe I don't want to. Maybe this button's going to be in, like I said before, 10 different pages. What's cool is you can edit it. So I could say, hey, I want the background color to use global color. So I'd like it to use magenta. And then I'm going to update it. Now what will happen, I may need a page refresh since this is also a widget. When I refresh, it should also go magenta. Yes, so as you can see, changing the one will update the others. So global widgets and templates, really awesome. If I go back to the dashboard, all the way back, if I go to my templates, you'll see we were in Theme Builder before, but now I want to go to Save Templates, and you can see there's that testimonial carousel, and here's my global widget, which for some reason you can't really seem to edit the global widgets from here, but you can edit them on the page level. Okay, I want to look at pop-ups now. So if we look here, we've got pop-ups. Pop-ups are a common feature on a website, so let's add a new one. Let's see what we can do with Elementor and pop-ups. Okay, I'm going to add a new pop-up test. It's going to have pre-built pop-ups we can choose from, lots of different ones, and you'll get some good ideas like full sort of slide-ins. You see this one here, it's actually a menu. They're using the pop-up to trigger a menu, so it doesn't just have to be markety, salesy stuff. You can build some really interesting things. Like this one looks kind of unique to me, like what are they doing there? But I want to build my own, so I'm just going to close that. So by default, you get this empty box, and it works just like regular Elementor Builder. So you can click and start adding things. Maybe I want to make some kind of a special offer. I'm going to drag a headline in there, drag an image. Maybe I want to duplicate or add a new column, right? I'm going to put my headline over here just like I did before. Maybe we want a button, and I can style it up as needed. The thing about pop-ups that's kind of interesting is down here on the left, this gear takes on a new meaning for settings. If you click on that, you can control your pop-up settings. So I can control the width. I can say how big do I want it to fit to screen, custom. I can start fiddling with the settings to get the pop-up. I like slide-ins. I think full screen takeovers are annoying. So I'm going to turn off Navigator. So I've got this pop-up that's over there on the bottom right. Do I want to have a close button available? You can turn that on or off. How do I want it to show up? Maybe I'd like, one like this to sort of slide in from the right. So slide in right, and then I'd say maybe I'll have it slide out left. So you've got some controls over that. How long do I want the animation to be? You can go through these settings here, and then I can go to styles. What do I want the background to be like? Do I want there to be a background color? So I could go here. So by default, it has a certain style. Oh, that's the background for the pop-up, excuse me. But yeah, I could set that. But the actual overlay on the screen is set to sort of this dark color. Maybe I don't want that, right? Like maybe I just want my little slide in to come in. I could set a background image though. If I really wanted to, I could put this big teddy bear there, and then I could say I don't want it to repeat, but I would like it to cover my whole screen. Or I could say, no image, thanks. Got some good options there. And then if I go to the advanced options, I can choose how long before I show the close button. I could prevent closing on overlay. That means if someone clicks out here, it won't close the button. You could prevent someone from closing it on escape. I don't do that. I feel like it's a trap, but you could. And then I could set some margin if I really wanted to. Maybe I need a little space on the bottom and the top. So you can do a lot. So I'm going to publish it, but I want to set some display conditions and triggers, like when will this thing show? I would like it to trigger when the page loads, maybe after a couple seconds. And I could even choose where. So where do you want to display this? I'll just do it on a single page. I could choose which page. I think I called it test, right? Or listings. We'll have it show on that little listing test. So Save and close. But there are more options there, just so you know. Advanced rules, I could say only show it after a certain number of page views or sessions. There's some good options there for controlling when a pop-up shows. But we'll go ahead and call that good. And then we're going to go back to our page that we made as a test. Let's view it and see if the pop-up works. So page loaded, and there comes our pop-up, right? So I could click on it, but there's some pretty neat stuff with like a slide-in menu, so you can actually trigger a pop-up from a button click. So I could, if I wanted, say when I click on this button, have it trigger a pop-up slide-in like a menu or an offer. A bonus feature I forgot to mention is the ability to import and export from Elementor templates and entire pages, really. So like this testimony carousel template I made, I could actually export it. And if I do that, it saves down a little file to my computer. And then I could go to a new site and import it here. And you go browse to that file and upload it. And what will happen is you will get the exact same template you have on your other site, and it can bring in the images. It's amazing. So what's cool is you can save an entire page as a template, export it, and then import that page. So if you wanted to move an entire page over, including things like your templates from Theme Builder, like for your navigation or your post listings, very powerful, very useful, and you don't have to use any strange migration plugins. Okay, so that's plenty long. There's more, but Elementor is jam-packed full of features. So using the Hello theme and the visual aspects of Elementor, you can make an amazing site. This is the best visual builder I've seen in a long time, and it seems to be sort of the top or one of the top options now for WordPress. All right, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing for future WordPress and Elementor content. Thanks.